I will call the, excuse me, Wednesday, October 9th, 2024 meeting of the Trees and Greenery Committee to order. You have the minutes of the September meeting. Any questions, comments, suggestions about those? None? Tree removal requests. 698, oh,
We have someone,
particular request?
yes.
Yes, for a tree on 47 L and out.
47 Allen, well, okay, we can start with 47.
You wanna, you
Come
can
on
come
up.
up and, yeah.
I'll grab a seat. Thank you.
And introduce yourself, please.
Yep, my name is Chris Hackett, 47 Ellen Ave. First of all, I just want to thank you guys because you do a great job. It's one of those things as a resident, I don't really think of the trees until you do think of the trees, and then you look around town and there's some beautiful trees and nicely placed trees. So thank you for that. This tree that we have in front of our house is a peach tree. It's just, I mean, it's just overrun. It goes right out into the sidewalk. Had to call multiple times to, over the years to have somebody come out and trim it. We're not able to park in the front of our house because it goes out to the road. But the biggest thing for us is, the fruit. I mean, it's, before the fruit comes, the tree looks great. As soon as the fruit comes, it's dead. And it just falls and it turns into being a huge liability for us. I mean, I've got my elderly in-laws and things who walk through that area and, the fruit gets under the grass and, it's just,
know,
I mean, we've
to
had
the
multiple
left,
people
so.
almost fall on the fruit. So I'm afraid of the liability for that, but otherwise it's just a nuisance. It's actually to the right that
Is
Yeah.
that little one right
that
there?
little one right there, but this picture
That, actually, to the left.
Okay.
That one, yes, that one there.
so it,
Now
you-
this size.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
and it does grow right into the walk. Well, you saw it when you
Yeah.
came out. It's
Yeah.
and I can't say too much about the tree because I don't know trees, but it's just a major nuisance for us.
Have we all gone out and checked out this tree? Yeah, so it does have a fungal infection going on, and that's, you can see that with all the burnt out leaves, and the fruit looks really rough too. So yeah, we pruned it when you called us out. My initial plan was to come back in the winter and do an even heavier reduction prune on it, just to limit how much we're really, what's the word? I don't want to introduce more fungal or any kind of issues to the tree if we prune it now. Also pruning it now will put it back a little bit as far as going into its dormant state for the winter. So when we prune it in its dormant state, it'll be better off, but it doesn't take away the fact that pears are generally peaches are very messy. When I pulled up, I was crushing all the nasty fruit under the curb and all that stuff. So it is worth the comment, but
Yeah, and we just can't maintain the yard.
Yeah.
Trying to get a lawnmower under there, it's just a nuisance.
and I think that, I mean, obviously us going in there and pruning it can help with, if you're cleaning up all the leaf litter and removing all the clippings, that helps, the overwintering of any kind of fungus that is growing and then inoculating the tree again. But yeah, it still doesn't take away the fact that it's a messy tree, so. And that's why we're here to deliberate its removal.
Did we plant that tree?
I have no idea. I mean,
I would say no, we did not.
yeah, we, at least, modern practices go, we don't plant full fruit producing trees anymore. Save for the one, we got two full apple trees accidentally that are now planted out at the community garden, which is the perfect place for it.
Perfect.
So at least as far as what we do now, that's absolutely something we do not do.
Yeah, actually, the health officer is encouraged us not to plant fruiting trees because it's a vector attraction.
Mhm. Would this be a place if we decided to remove this tree, replacement?
Yeah, I always would love to get something back in wherever we have a tree removed.
Any other comments or questions or suggestions?
I'll make a motion to remove it.
I'll second it
By Dennis, seconded by
with
Deb.
replacement tree.
Any Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Mike's opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for getting us.
8:04.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, for.
Please give us your name, please.
Morning, Greg Abear, 183 Hillside Drive. Probably looking a little too familiar to everybody at this
Last
point.
month.
That's
yes.
right, yes. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife and I. We're on the Silver Maple at 8 Greenleaf Ave. That would make way for the sidewalk project on Greenleaf. That sidewalk will give us safe access to town. And we are also very much appreciative of how Portsmouth is purposeful with both planting and removing trees. And we appreciate the quality of life that trees provide for ourselves, our neighbors, and our community. And in this case, the removal of that tree, along with the others that were from the last meeting, helps preserve that quality of life and keeps our neighborhood connected safely to town, parks, schools, et cetera. So I'd like to request that we do remove that tree.
Thank you. Any questions? or
So
comments?
Peter, is it on up to the right?
Yep, so it's up a little bit further, Peter, up the hill, and then to the left there next to the utility pole. Yep.
Yes, right there at the utility pole, right.
And I do want to make a correction. I believe that is a red maple. I think I wrote that on the form on the removal notice, and then I never updated my my thing here. So it is a red maple. We all have probably seen this one, but there's that huge central column of decay through the center there. You know, I marked this tree as poor condition. It's definitely still it has vigor remaining left in the tree, but you know, structurally, I can't. I just think it's worth removing on that merit. But the fact that we have that sidewalk going in, you know, I think it is a good removal candidate if there ever was one.
And what's the big tree behind it in someone's yard?
To the right there.
Yeah, what is that?
Silver
Not-
maple.
Is it a
Silver maple. And it has a few good more years in it.
I'd say
I would imagine.
It looks very healthy and
Yeah, this is from 2019. So yeah, I can't imagine it, you know, having declined to now, but to be honest, I didn't even look at it. So, but yeah,
I always do like to look at the second row, what's it contextually around, so.
sure. What's
it-
left
it's
in that
sort of-
space after?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So all those trees will be gone, all the way down. Those three there as well?
Yes, we talked about those
Yes.
last time.
Yep. So I think the one nearest the driveway there, is that staying? I don't remember, but I believe, because I think through this section, they're able to build the sidewalk out into the road. And yeah, those three are going. Everything else up top is staying, at least right now. So yeah, so that whole area to the right of the curb will be built out for the sidewalk.
Oh.
And those trees will, at least for right now, they'll be untouched. And I think the reason, yep, so there are three in there. It looks like
This one's already gone. I thought.
yeah, there are a couple that are already gone from this right of way space.
Down at Silver Maple further up.
Yeah, Greenleaf and Hillside at the corner, that one is gone as well.
Mhm.
So right as it is right now, it's 4 trees remain to be removed for this sidewalk project.
And there'll be room for additional trees, when that bump out is, the road is rerouted, whatever.
Yeah, so after speaking with Mark Batchelder, I don't know if there's much space with how the plan is laid out right now to incorporate new trees in a right of way space. So pending some conversations with homeowners and seeing if they'd want to, we have the tree grant program that allows us to plant 2 trees on private property. We'll establish them for the 2 years and then they become a part of private property. We do have that program and we've done it in the past for other projects where the city is left with no viable green space for planting. So that is something we can do. But right now, I don't think on paper there's anything saying we have trees going back into city right of way. No, yeah, it's really tight through that area especially. And even, I mean, fortunately, we are able to not mess with any of those trees behind the fire hydrant there. That whole area should by and large stay as it is now. And yeah, so I'm thankful that we can build out into the road space there and, you know, keep what we have, but
Will be a very different landscape.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I don't, you know, I understand the issue and safety issue and needing the sidewalk.
Does that sidewalk go all the way up to South Street?
Yes.
Do we have a motion to recommend removal?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Yeah, seconded by Pat. Any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
698 Sagamore Avenue.
Are you here for a trip?
Yeah, 4 Fairview Drive.
Oh,
Which 4 Fairview Drive.
oh, okay.
No rush.
Four Fairview. Park.
Thank you, folks.
It's a tongue twister.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Lachlan. This one's an easy one, I think, probably. We were here, my wife was here in front of you folks, 2.5 years ago. You can see we have two giant European beaches on our property. That one there in the front is the one we're talking about.
To the
These are
left.
all left over
That large
from
one, yeah.
what
Yep.
we affectionately call the Frank Jones Farm. You know, if you know the mansard roof down the street where his summer home was, this was part of his, you know, expansive farm property. There was 15, 16, 17 European beaches. I'm sure you've probably seen some of them come before you in the past. This one in particular, unfortunately, with the great road reconstruction project that happened a couple of years ago, two things happened. First of all, there was a lot of trauma to the root, I believe, to the root ball of the tree, because as you can see, the tree goes all the way over the street. So we dug up the whole street. We were changing sewer, gas, et cetera. So there was a lot of work done there. You can, ironically, you can see a traffic person there right now. So that must have been during that time. But also at the same time, they took that utility pole over there to the right and they moved it about 10 feet into our property line further, which brought the power lines right up against the tree. So about 2 years ago, I was watching Saturday.
Tree caught on fire at one.
Correct. It caught on fire about 3 times and went downhill from there. So just, you know, a windy day, electrical lines blowing up against it. The last time was flying embers of rubber, protective pieces from the thing and the ambulance coming and the fire department coming, things like that. Tree went downhill from there. Unitil wanted to remove it 2.5 years ago. We came here and tried to fight to not do that. They removed one of them. There's 3 leaders in the tree. We removed one of them and it was kind of known that that was going to be the beginning of the end. Right. So that first leader you're looking at there, that's gone now. And if anybody any of you have been by there, the tree canopy is depleting, et cetera, et cetera. We've met with Max. Max has been very helpful. We have our own arborist, David Stedman, who is amazing, right? Northeast Shade Tree. And we are, I mean, literally one of the reasons we bought this house was because of these 2 trees. So we are, I mean, I think my wife is going to be crying, but we are more concerned now about the safety of our house and our property. But the thing is the city's right of way goes right between the middle of the trunk. So it's kind of like half ours and half yours, and that's why we're here. So.
Yeah, I
Max,
think,
are there any
yeah.
other contributing factors to the demise of this tree?
as of right now, so I'm always looking for beech leaf disease. I don't think that's what's going on here. Yeah, I mean, realistically, beech don't really respond super well to pruning. So when they remove that large of a piece out of it, I mean, that certainly, you know, that impacts the tree's overall vigor. Then when you take into account any potential root damage, again, detracts away from the tree's overall ability to seal wounds, to take care of itself. So realistically, we're looking at just all of these compounding issues, and you said it really well, I think that's ultimately what we're looking at here.
And from my internet sleuth research, which
Sure.
means no
please.
proficiency, is it's kind of actually at the end of its expected lifespan, right? Like
Sure.
they were
Yeah.
they were planted in the 1850s, 1860s by Frank Jones. We're coming up on 175.
Yeah.
My research has said that that's kind of the end all of their lifespan potentially, and we've seen it around the neighborhood, people are having to start to take them down.
Yeah.
They're getting the big conks. There's a couple of trees that have been taken down, a couple of diseases. Um,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely paired with its, you know, maybe older age.
Yeah.
Maybe there's less fight in it, I would say,
Yeah,
but that's,
great
you
point,
know,
great point.
yeah, I think ultimately it's more about, you know, everything that's happened to it over the past couple of years. And the one anecdote that I sort of spoke to you and your wife about was you do still have that nice European beach in the back.
Ah.
And if it came down to, because beach leaf disease is here, so if there was ever a spot or a place for you to invest your time and money and resources into, it'd be maybe trying to
And that's
preserve
what we're
that
doing,
one.
yeah, absolutely, yep. We're doing
Um,
some kind of fluid injection.
Yeah,
through
you
North-
do that on this tree and, you know, it might, you know, you could realistically just be throwing your money away
Yep.
with no meaningful impact on the
Yeah,
tree.
yeah.
So that's, you know, that's where my mind was at after looking at this tree. And yeah, I totally agree. I think it's definitely in a rough spot. I'm sure we've all driven by and looked at this one too. And even just comparing the tree in the back to the tree in the front, it's like, well, that's what this one should look like.
Oh, yes.
And it doesn't.
Yeah, the
So,
canopies are hugely different.
yeah. So,
Do we have a motion to recommend remove?
I know.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Motion made by David, by Dennis. Second by Michael. Any discussion? All in favor of recommending removal?
Aye.
Sadly,
Aye,
but yes,
reluctantly.
sadly, but I'm so glad you have the other one and.
Yeah, yeah, we are too. Oh my
You are
gosh, thank you.
steward
Yeah,
of
Plenty
that
reasons to
tree. and-
die.
yeah, yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
folks very much. I
Well,
appreciate your
thank
time.
you.
I'll coordinate with you
Yeah.
about removal.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That's
You're welcome.
it. That's everybody.
In my
Peter.
last head count, there are 16 species still existing. The ones on Austin Street are in tough shape, but 16 specimens of European beach, copper beach.
And how many up around Frank Jones?
I'd say 8.
There's another one right on Fairview, right there at the
Yes.
corner in Maplewood.
Yeah.
It's a nice
So,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a big tree. Is that one that you guys will take down?
No, we'll contract that out, especially when it's over a road, over the power lines. It's safer to do with a crane. They'll get it done in less than a day. If we toiled on that thing, it'd
You couldn't do it.
take a very long time with just a bucket. So
You don't want to talk to Eversource again?
no, no, I've been talking to Eversource for a few other projects and they, I think like many, are strapped for cash right now. So they're doing their primary or priorities and that's kind of it at this point. So
Okay, 698 Sagamore.
yeah, resident request, it's a red maple right in the front yard, right next to the chain link fence in where the road, you know, that whole area is under construction right now, but this homeowner requested we remove it. It is in decline. It's not looking super hot. And I just think with, you know, all the construction that's gone through there, I think there's been limited disruption to the roots, but you can clearly see that there has been some mechanical damage at the base of the tree. Which I don't think is, I think what's really just affecting this tree is that it's already in sort of a poor state and any potential damage that's already, or that's recently occurred is just piling on top of it. So
Did he tie into the sewer line?
when I was through there, I was looking at the ground. It looked like they had done some work through their yard, but I don't know if it was associated with this project or another. It did look like it, at least it didn't occur very recently. If anything, it happened within the last year or two. But I'm just speculating at this point. I have no confirmation on that.
I'm sorry, I don't have Dick Adams here to join with me in opposing removing of a tree because it's in decline and not looking real good.
Were those my words? Ah.
That 175-year-old beach wasn't probably friendly for you.
Do we have a motion to recommend removal?
I recommend monitoring.
Yes.
Yeah. We can, so,
Peter.
and then just a little bit more. So if Peter, if you kind of pan to the right there, there's another red maple that was requested for pruning. When we go and do that tree, we can do this other one at the same time and just we'll do a deadwood prune and
No, that's in our right away. I
Yes.
thought the right of way was really tight in there.
Yeah, I mean, I looked on our GIS and confirmed it with Dave DeFosis. Yeah, so we can just as easily prune it, instead of removing. I have no problem with that.
Motions to prune and monitor. And not recommend removal at this time. All in favor of that? Well, that was
Yeah,
motion.
second.
made by
By you.
Deb, second by Dennis, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
420 Lafayette Road.
Another resident request, crabapple, excuse me, that's kind of growing right. And Peter, I think it actually, you'll be able to see it better on Lafayette. Yeah, that's weird that it puts you out there.
Driveways?
Yeah, well, there's no driveway. Keep going down further because it's pretty much at the intersection for the high school. And then right there at that fence line, keep going a little bit further. And now Penny, you're right, it's that tree right there behind the utility pole. Resident is concerned about the base of the tree, how it's got some funky cavities going on. Actually, full disclosure, so Chuck Baxter, the previous arborist foreman, had mentioned this to me as I was coming into this role, and it disappeared off of my radar until the homeowner asked if I would consider it for removal, and then it kind of all came back to me. So that's been something I think that resident has been looking for a little bit. It certainly, the time hasn't done any favors for it, you know, thinking about its base and its structure. So yeah,
You recommend removing it?
I just recommend removing it because even if we came in and pruned it, they're concerned about their fence. So if we just pruned everything up over the fence line, it's really not leaving a whole lot to that tree. Personally, I feel like it's a strong candidate for removal.
That is our right of way?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so if you bring up there's one of the photos that I brought, it shows where the right of way is. Should be that, yeah. And then that one, yeah. So the right of way is defined by that red line there. So yeah, little funky right of way, but yeah, it appears very much on our city right of way.
You have a recommendation for removal?
I'll recommend to remove that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We did Owen and Sewell Road.
Another resident request, Sugar Maple. I believe, so just doing, because I'd never worked on this tree, but doing a little bit of detective work, you can see that one of the like codominant stems was removed a while ago, likely for an Eversource clearance. And then Peter, it'd be to your left. And it's the tree nearest the road right there. Yeah. I believe?
No.
No?
No.
Is it back one more?
Go back towards Spinning Road.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Keep going.
No. I think it's to the left still.
Farther down, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it that one? Or is it?
The obvious.
This is again, photo from 2011, so it's
Well, that's
not,
from 2011.
so it's not quite accurate, I don't think.
Not even close.
It looked good then.
Yeah. Well, looking at it now, I mean, you can see that, that when they made that large reduction cut, the tree didn't really respond super well to that. And what you're left with is all, that wood full of holes. And my concern, now we have all that weight sort of leaning away because it was a codom. Now you have this potential for that rot and decay from that one side of the tree, sort of entering that unsealed portion of included bark. And even as far as just looking at the tree's canopy and its vigor, you can tell that it's really spotty, right? It's not this full wide canopy. It's sort of just growing in tufts across the crown. So already that indicates to me that it's not super vigorous. And yeah, I think this would be another candidate for removal.
And replacement?
Location for replacement, yeah.
I would think so, absolutely. Yeah, the right of way, I didn't include
Right.
the diagram, but we do have like I think it's like 12 or 15 foot right of way through that space, so.
Something
plenty.
maybe sort of larger than usual, because I don't think there are power lines there.
There is a power line that runs
They're
across the
south.
street from there.
Across the street.
I
but
believe it,
not-
yeah, it kind of
Oh,
goes,
I
it's like a
see.
long diagonal. We can likely fit something in there. We have some columnar trees that would probably, have like a really tight growing habit that could fit nicely there. Otherwise, we have some medium-sized trees that would be appropriate for under the power lines too.
Okay.
A recommendation?
I recommend remove.
Pat,
Second,
seconded, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
104 Thornton Street.
Resident request, which I told him that we would be more than happy to prune the 3 trees that are there and keep what we have, and still insisted on removing. So here we are.
It's a no way maple in the middle.
Yes, in between a locust, Zelkova and I believe it's a Zelkova and a honey locust right there.
It's a beautiful.
So that's a Zelkova.
Zelkova.
And then that's the maple, and then to the left are 2 honey locusts. So it is crowding the other 2 trees. That's fine. I have no problem with that. That just means we can go in there and do some reductions on the Norway and then get in there. There's, I recognize that there was some dead in the honey locust right next to it. So we have 3 trees that we can prune,
Mhm.
and really, clean up that space for all 3. I see no reason. There's no structural issues. I saw no cracks, no seams. Everything looks fine on this tree. So it's just a prune for all 3.
You're all the same age?
I believe, I feel like that Zelkova at the end is the largest of all of them. So that may have been
Yeah.
there initially, and then the 2 honey locusts, I bet you that either that Norway came on its own somehow, or it was intentionally planted, because they all kind of, I think without the Norway there, you see that it's like 1, 2, 3, and they have a nice even spacing.
Yes.
So that Norway, either intentionally or not, but I think they all appear to be maybe within a decade.
You sneak that one in?
hey,
A Lachlan special.
Yeah.
Is it a crimson? Is it a crimson Norway maple? I couldn't, I can't remember if it's red or not.
It didn't appear to be.
Was it not? Okay.
Wasn't mine.
Okay.
move to prune and monitor.
Second.
Good compromise.
And monitor, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We've done 8 Greenleaf. Islington Street at Plains Avenue.
This is requested by our assistant parks foreman, Don Doro. So the tree itself, I mean, it's in that central canopy, there is some dieback and there is some dead. There's plenty, it is growing pretty heavily, and you could, if you kind of took a step back and looked, it's more over the sidewalk and over the road toward a utility line. So if we did go out, we would really raise that tree up quite a bit, because it is pretty low for their maintenance purposes. And then, thinking about the future, and potentially if any utility company was to come out and prune, right there at the corner of Plains, yep, in Islington. And it's that, and actually, so it's that one right there on the left, Peter, on,
Street,
and then
right
right
there.
there, yep. So yeah, as you can see on the right-hand side, it's really growing heavily toward those power lines. We need to get in there and raise it up and get the deadwood out and do some pruning toward the road at the very least. So thinking about the future of that thing and what it could stand to lose with some power line clearance, we're kind of left with almost like a saucer around the midsection, and then like some tuffet, some growth that's up toward the power line. So I'm
What do
just,
you recommend?
what's that?
What do you recommend?
I recommend removal, because I think after all of that pruning, we're left with just a funky tree, but I do concede that it would be, it's not like it's going to fail or anything, but I just think with the amount of work still involved with the pruning, that we're that close to removal, I think we're going to be removing, very close to 50% of its, living canopy, which won't set that tree up for, like health long-term.
So when we took those ash trees out.
Yeah.
What did you put back in there?
we put back, okay, so we put back, I know we put an oak, hardy rubber tree, Osage orange. We put back a yellow wood and there was one, I think a sweet gum. And two of those, unfortunately, I think the hardy rubber tree crop that we got wasn't super, I think so I have 5 of them ordered. I want to get those in the ground as soon as possible. And we're also getting hackberry again this year. And from 2 years ago, those didn't do really well because I think it took us a little bit of time to get in there and plant a bunch of them. So having said that, we'll try and prioritize the ones that we know we had a hardship with establishing and get them out of the bags and into the ground as quickly as possible this year. So yeah, absolutely a site for replanting for sure. So yeah, I do recommend the removal.
You have a motion to
I
that?
I agree and move to remove.
Second,
Motion made by Michael and seconded by Pat. Any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
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 How are you gonna replace Donnie Doral?
I don't know. That's
You have to hire 3 guys to replace him.
that's gonna be a tough conversation whenever he's retired. So yeah, and then so this is Market Street at the elevated walkway on Shearwater. So that's that kind of caged bridge that extends from the ball field over to that residential area. There are 3 trees in there, 2 spruce, and then 1, what did I put down? Yeah, 1 red maple. So we were tasked to do a bunch of pruning on the outside and around this structure because it needs to be maintained. And in order to do that, we've already pruned around the exterior ring. And then these trees on the inside. So I think at the very least, the spruce should be removed. If once we get in there and do that clearance pruning, it's going to leave just like a thumb up there of foliage.
Were they planted there, do you think?
I'd imagine they must have been planted whenever the construction of that project was completed. And I like the idea of having a tree inside there. So with those 2 being removed, we can get in, prune the maple and allow that to stay. But I'm only putting all 3 up for consideration because there are homes being built in there and it's going to be really difficult to get in after those homes are built. So I just wanted to bring up the conversation about the third, the maple tree. Being, I have no problem having it stay. I just wanted to bring up the point that it's going to be a tough spot to get into after within like a year or 2. So but yeah, I think the Norway should go. They're covered in bittersweet. Once we get the pruning done, there's really going to be not a whole lot left. And it's just going to be easier to get in and do the removals. And then the maple can be pruned, but I was just floating the idea of removal to you all just to consider what the future looks like for that site.
Given the fact that that bridge will likely require either removal or significant maintenance, I would move to remove all 3 at this time.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
So we would, in light of what Peter just said, we would not do a replacement.
I would
Or,
recommend it this time because we're likely going to be getting it. We have to get in there and do maintenance. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of the bridges that it's identified for maintenance. And this discussion about removal of that bridge, remove the maintenance. So we need to, that's a policy decision. So
okay,
it needs to be discussed.
Any, we have a motion. You made a motion, I think.
I move to remove all 3.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
You're gonna be busy.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's all right. We're coming up on winter, so that's good winter work.
680 Beverly Hill Road.
Yep, so 2 ash on the rear side, I guess it would be rear from Beverly Hill. But these are 2 ash that need to be removed because the building is being extended. And yeah, anyway, they're ash trees. across, in the next lot full of ash trees that have VAB, riddled trees, Pike Industries, they have a whole, and a part of me was just like, this is just kind of going to happen one way or the other, but, I think the extension of this building is sort of speeding that process up for these 2 tree removals. So,
Foundation's going in before December.
Oh, boy. And the
That's-
trees just happen to look glorious right now.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
You have
That's,
great ashes
They're
left.
Bigger than, they're
Exactly.
bigger than this.
yeah, yeah.
Right,
So,
right.
and that's,
But the
colors-
beauty is we're keeping
colors
all these
beautiful.
trees.
That is a
Yep.
positive note, Peter.
Yes.
Very positive.
And we'll have a place to store all our expensive vehicles, so you, won't- as taxpayers, don't have to replace them quickly.
I planted those 3 trees in the front.
Aw.
All right, really?
Hmm.
Okay, we have a
Gotta go.
motion to,
I make that motion to remove those
Ash.
ash trees.
and he seconded,
I'll second.
Michael, any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How far's the building coming out?
Pretty much to
Aye.
the edge of pavement,
It's not been a good day.
50 feet roughly.
Max gave us a 2025 tree planting species selection.
Yes.
and that is, that's a PDF that's open. Yeah. Yeah. So, obviously take a look. I'll, what was I gonna say?
So 150 trees on here.
Yep, 150. I think we're favoring large tree species this time around.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
I was very happy to
So we're,
that.
so I'm either feeling very optimistic, because usually, it usually shakes out that around 50%, it's usually closer to 50-50, and we find way more small tree sites than large tree sites. Just because I feel like, there's a greater opportunity under power lines, just
Mhm.
for what it's worth. I mean, smaller trees require smaller spaces. City of Portsmouth isn't, we're not completely stocked up with just wide open lots and the widest right of way spaces. So usually small trees are the way to go, but I feel like we have a pretty good variety here. I was just at the New England ISA conference in Rhode Island yesterday, and the final class of the day yesterday was about tree planting species for today and for the future. And a lot of what they were talking about was on here, and that felt really validating. They talked about the classic staple trees that work really well in urban environments, and then also things that are coming up that will be more available in nurseries across the country. And some of those are already accounted for on here. Yeah,
What have we been historically zone wise
zone wise, I believe we're
for
about
trees?
6B, I think, is our current USDA cold hardiness zone.
6B.
Yeah, so, and yeah, all of these will work for us for sure.
For the future.
Yeah, and there was also another bare root tree provider at the conference, and they have 2 locations, one in Oregon and one in Georgia. And I'm going to look at their catalog for 2026. If we're thinking about planting more like kind of a warming climate, sort of resilient tree, I'm thinking trees that are on the East Coast, more southern. So if we can get a bunch of varieties that do really well down in that climate and bring them up here, I think that should better prepare us for whatever may come from the changing climate. So, but I think everything that we're putting in is gonna be great for us.
Is this your wish list?
No,
What's
that's
the
what I have.
percentage?
That's what I have
This is
confirmed.
Secured.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm,
Quite varied.
Yes, it is.
yeah,
Very good.
thank you.
Very good. Nice.
A question, Max,
Yeah.
on the hardy rubber tree, I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
It says that what I looked up said it needs a wide planting strip.
Yeah.
Why is that? Seen that note?
Needs a wide plant. I would just imagine, well, yeah, I mean, obviously the greater the space, the better any tree will be off. So maybe that's just an observation from wherever you found that, that person recognizes this is where they do best, which kind of checks. So we put one of those again over at Plains Ball Field, sort of in that large
Mhm.
area. and it just didn't, I just think we didn't get those in the ground fast enough. Which is unfortunate, but yeah, again, being a large tree, we're not gonna throw that. Actually, I almost just, we put another one of those in front of the, on Congress Street. It's like a board game store, and then the French bakery
Yep.
over there.
Yep.
And that one, it put out leaves and then it just kind of, it didn't stay through the summer. So that's that's not a large right of way space or anything like that. And it also, just like the one at Plains, didn't make it. So, that coincidentally was one of those trees discussed yesterday as a tree that would be great for now and the future. So hopefully we can get a few established and see what they do and keep that going. Yeah.
And are some of these trees intended for Bartlett already, or? I see some bump outs.
yeah,
on
I have
Bartlett
to-
When I finally got to go down that street, you know.
I have a meeting with Mark Batchelder next week or the week after next, and we'll discuss trees. So trees for Bartlett, the skate park, and the phase 2 of the sidewalk in Panaway. And also Sagamore are the 4 kind of projects that and maybe, I don't know if what's the other project that Zach is working on off of Middle? Is that Willard? Wybird? Yeah, so if that area is all set by next spring, we can also plant in those right of way spaces as well. So those are potentially 5 projects that we'll be supporting with tree planting next spring.
And did we also, at the end of the Bridge Street parking lot on the Islington, is there gonna be a larger green space there?
In the very, like at the top of the hill on Islington.
We're leaning towards hardscape, given the amount of traffic. Maybe some planting opportunities, but not a large green space. We've widened the sidewalk and planting space on the old library side,
Mhm.
so there'll be some improved plantings along there. But at this point, we're looking at hardscape on that corner.
Yeah, and we've gone, was it last year or the year prior that we went through there and
Year
planted?
prior,
So
prior.
we're in that area. I know there are some kind of rough looking linden and Norway maple down in that, sort of at the bottom of that lot too. So whenever they're
All right.
ready to go, you'll be the first to know, and we'll get other
Mhm.
trees in there, but.
You know where Rite Aid is, I believe, out by
Market in Woodbury,
correct.
yeah.
And there's that space that's in front of, I think, was it the Housing Authority that did those mobile homes?
Yeah,
that-
across the street there, yep.
Is that us? Do we own that?
I don't think so.
We don't own that, because that just screams something. It looks so hot there,
Yeah.
baking,
Um,
and I wondered if you own that. It's every time I go by, it just,
Think
Uh,
we did plant it. We have a tiny little garden up there. So if you're turning right from Market onto Woodbury,
Yep.
that inside of that right turn there, up on the hill, maybe halfway, there's a little garden
oh,
that I think it was an adopt a spot for a long time. I don't think it's any longer, but there's still, perennials that are flowering in there. We actually put a tulip poplar right in the middle of that little garden. So that's, if we have more space through there, I know it's backed up with a bunch of other trees. So it might not be a really, really good spot, but I'll double check and see if we can throw some trees kind of in the area where you're talking.
right, goes all the way to the head of the street.
Forgot that's
there,
what that looked
Peter.
like.
Yeah, it came out.
Talking about this area?
No,
No, all the way down to Market Basket, all the way across from Rite Aid. When that whole section was redone last year or so,
Mhm.
keep going. Across on the left-hand side.
Yeah, so I think we have a little bit up top, but
I think this is all ours.
it is, okay. Well, yeah,
Let's-
The trailers are further down.
Yeah, the trailers are further, and in front of
Yeah.
those, it just seems to really,
yeah,
it
no,
looks hot and just unfriendly.
for sure. Yeah, I don't know what the status is or who the owner is, but
Mm-hmm.
if there is an opportunity to get something in front or nearby, I see no reason to not. So yeah,
Looks like a good spot.
but that's what we're looking at for tree selection for next year. So if there are any, there is some ability to move.
That is our property.
Okay,
Oh, good, great.
yeah, maybe we can, yeah,
Yeah,
we can
do
probably
something
put a
nice.
few in there. Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Really dress it up. And then I know that we talked last time about
Yes,
conifers and that, of course, you had already put this list in and thought maybe perhaps you could add some at some juncture, but
yeah,
you know, like right across the street here at this park, some things are going down and that would be a nice place to have
yeah,
some conifers. And I think it
Hmm.
really activates our winter landscape
yeah,
versus
those would be.
deciduous that just sort
Yeah,
of
of course.
fall and.
We're gonna, my plan now is to just buy about 5 conifer at a
Mhm.
local nursery.
Okay.
And those will just be, like, after we get all of our bare roots done, we'll do 5 of those.
Mhm.
I already have a couple, with spots, but it's, it's getting a little difficult finding good looking holiday trees for Market Square. This year's, I think, is out in Newington, where I was able to find one. So I think having a consistent, planting a conifer like a blue spruce or some kind of fir every year or two would be really beneficial for the next
Mhm.
arborist foreman, for Christmas trees. So,
Max, thank you for your creativity and diligence in
yeah,
putting this.
So true.
absolutely.
Any update on tree maintenance? And
You have the door hanger.
Let's do the door.
Oh, yeah,
hanger.
the door hanger, yeah.
I love this.
that's a
Yeah.
great idea.
This is a great
Yeah.
piece. Love this. This is.
Great idea.
Mhm.
Yeah, obviously, this was just a draft, so, I already there are a couple points that I'd like to already change around, but I think for all intents and purposes, I think the front page will be the front will be the one with the address and tree species fillable box. And then the stuff on the back. And I wish I brought our summer intern, Mary Ellie Duran, and I worked on doing the, urban heat island. We did a little urban heat island study. So we have 2 weather cameras that pick up air, surface temp, wind speeds. It just captures all of that, for a site. And we kept one as a control down in that large intersection on Islington, Maplewood, Congress. That 4-way intersection there was our control because there aren't many trees down there, so it gets really hot. And then we moved the other camera to other neighborhoods across the city that had different heat index ratings. And what we came up with was obviously, right, the more shaded, tree-filled neighborhoods were cooler overnight, which has a direct correlation to heating bills and all of those things. So I think incorporating, and that wasn't the plan all along, to incorporate it into some kind of literature or door hang for tree planting, but just to really emphasize and have points like, on the backside with the graph, it's Wybird and Lincoln compared to Maplewood and Congress, and you can clearly see that there's a really, obvious difference of heat. And having something like that where a resident can say, hey, I know where those intersections are, it really does paint a picture for them.
Max,
Yeah,
I don't see your phone number on here or your contact.
I would,
I think
Great.
Maybe that was intentional. That's right.
make it a little bit harder for them to, yeah.
I thought the tree wardens should
Okay.
go on.
Or delegate.
So yeah, good note. I'll add that. Yeah, I'm really proud of Mary Ellie and what she did over the summer, and I wish I brought in the actual full, like, 1-pager that she typed up, because
Is she available still? Or is she off to?
I asked if she would, yes, she's working full-time again and going to school, so
Okay.
she's very busy, and I asked if she would like to come and talk about it for this month, but was unable to. So if there's an opportunity to get her in here and talk about it, I think that'd be
Yeah.
really
If she can
fun.
use it for school.
Yeah.
Credit or something like that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, great.
Yeah, I'll see if she's available and insist that the committee is looking forward to that. And
The
Great
climate
job.
action,
Thank you.
plan, they would like this too. I'll
Cool,
hand this
yeah.
off to Effie.
cool,
She can present
perfect.
it.
So perfect example of the education. I love to see
Yeah.
us do more. of it. I think it's
Yeah.
who we are, and
And so someone isn't seeing the tree planted and say, oh, I didn't know that was gonna.
I think that was the biggest, and if, even if there were people that I can convince to keep a tree, usually their first hesitation was, well, what are these flags doing? What kind of tree is it?
Yeah.
What do you mean I get no say in what tree is going in? And I totally understand, if someone came to my house in Northwood, yeah, that's, if someone came to my house in Northwood and said, hey, the city has this much space in your front, we're gonna put a tree here. And it, you know, having no prior understanding or knowledge about that, I would be taken aback by that too. So, yeah, a little bit of education for sure.
Any old business? Any new business?
Dennis, I think those ginkgos are gonna be okay. You think so? Oh, good.
Which one, where are they located?
Cabot Street one, or Union Street?
Union. You think so? Really?
Right.
Well, good.
The tough.
Tough trees.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, we'll, I'm really glad those finally got covered in loam. I remember driving by there a couple weeks ago, and I'm sure you all have been keeping tabs on it too, but filled with
Debris.
debris and stuff. I'm like,
Debris,
come
oh.
on, these residents wrote a letter and specifically requested these stay, and the fact that they're, you know, looking like that was very unfortunate. So I'm
Mm.
glad it's all covered up with loam, and we'll get some composting on it this fall and hope for the best for next spring.
So Peter, as far as there's been so much infrastructure work done in the sort of downtown area, are we getting there? Are we really, we've had I feel like we've had a lot of conflict between trees and infrastructure. That's come to this committee a lot in the last couple years. Do we have a lot more to look forward to? Or are we sort of, are we there?
Yes.
Well, I,
We
Yes
have a lot
to-
more to look
yes
forward
to
to, and
what,
yes,
though?
I mean, it's a 400-year-old city with infrastructure in places that are still, 150 years old. Von Mall is a great example. The sewer line is 150 years old. It collapsed. There's sections of the city that continue to need work. And just because you build something doesn't mean you don't need to do maintenance 20 years, 30 years, 40 years later.
Right.
So it's a continuum. Trees in an urban environment are, they're precious, we understand, but they also end up having to be removed at times, and succession planning needs to be made. So it's part of the process.
Mhm.
but I think the important thing is that activity in recent years, certainly in Peter's regime, that is part of the process before it starts, before
Right.
the improvements are made is, how does this affect trees and the greenery? And I don't know, I suspect that doesn't happen everywhere in other towns. But it sure has happened here in recent years, and it's
Mhm.
great.
There's some great examples. Cambridge is a really good town. Portland does a great job. There's places that do it, but the bulk of the communities don't,
Mhm.
Well, Portsmouth didn't do it for
for a long time.
Mhm.
I mean, those first 375 years.
Would there be any opportunity to do I don't know, some education around the Von Mall? Those trees that are gonna be taken down in Von Mall, there's just,
Types of education.
I don't know, even a sandwich board saying there's 150-year-old infrastructure that, I don't know, that's been like what you share with us.
Yeah.
It would be interesting just to share with the public, because I think it is quite shocking to know that there are sewer lines in our community that are 150 years old. I think that's a very interesting tidbit. And Von Mall, because those trees are the 3 oaks that are there.
So you want to get ahead of it,
Yes.
construction.
Even just a sandwich board explaining what you're doing, which is good, but.
Is that going off the bid yet?
Because those are beloved shade trees right
If-
there
if,
at the
you know,
end.
Peter can recall, and others who have lived in the city a long time can recall that prior education and notification of projects did not exist up until I started working here 20 years ago. even at the beginning, it did not happen. So we've come a long way relative to our outreach. We have a lot of information that we put out. We have public meetings. We do
Mhm.
multiple things and opportunities for folks who are interested to avail themselves of information. If the committee wants to take on an additional thing, I would be more than happy to let you all
Okay.
put up some educational signs with the manager's approval. At this point, we are stretched so thin right now.
And Peter, I always,
you know, he-
always honor that.
No, I mean, I've said we're thin before, but we are really thin right now. I don't have a deputy director. You know, there's two administrative staff not here. Solid waste are missing three. I mean, it is, and when solid waste misses threes, that means tree and greenery, that means roads, that means other people, because solid waste has to get collected. So you grab, you know, so we're constantly robbing Peter to pay Paul. And, you know,
I
great
understand.
ideas.
Thank you, thank you. I just like to.
Don't do this at the end of the meeting.
Sorry, well, I'm gonna go work out now, so it'll be, maybe you should come along.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay.
thank you all. very
thank
much.
you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Motion.